All right, you want to take a quick flight north to go up to the Minnesota Wild?
Let's do her.
These guys finished second in the Central Division. Wow, tongue twister there. 53-22-7 record, 113 points on the season, second in the West and fifth in the league under head coach Dean Evanson this season. Players lost were Jordy Ben to the Maple Leafs, Nick Bjugstad to the Coyotes, Nicholas Delorier to the Flyers, goalie Cam Talbot went to the Senators, Dmitry Kulikov is on his way to the Ducks, and Kevin Fiala to the Kings. The players signed. They really only had a few players that got signed from their farm team, the Iowa Wild.
Yeah.
But they did have a few trades here. The Wild traded Kevin Fiala to the LA Kings in exchange for the 2022 first-round pick and defenseman Brock Faber. The 2022 first-round pick was Danila Yurov of the KHL. The Wild traded goaltender Cam Talbot to the Ottawa Senators in exchange for goaltender Philip Gustafsson. And lastly, they traded away Dmitry Kulikov to the Ducks in exchange for future considerations. My favorite player in the league.
Guy gets bounced around so many times in the
Suitcase.
league. It's insane. I don't know how I feel about this Wild team. Like, you lost a lot, gained absolutely nothing, and I feel like the Wild is just going to fall down. I'm not too sure what their plan was here. Like, they lost big players here. Nick Bjugstad, Delorier, the main goalie Cam Talbot, although we talked about him in the Fleury situation where Talbot wanted out, so that kind of made sense. Kulikov and Fiala. Fiala's kind of fallen down a bit, but Kulikov is still kind of up there. So great pickup by the Ducks. But I don't know. You think you're going to lose these players and, like, try to pick something up to, like, pick up the pace there. And I don't know. I think you're going to see, like, a fallen down Wild team. And I don't know where to go from there. You know?
With you saying all this makes me want to bump them lower on my rankings. Yeah. I do see them a lot like the New York Islanders. I think they looked at the team and said, let's run it back. I want to see what this group can do. Yeah. But then they also took the time to give away 6 guys that I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago were pretty big names around the league, but now they've kind of lost their shine, the top part of their game.
Right.
The only guy that I think stands out to me is obviously Cam Talbot, but Nicholas Delorier, and it's not because of what he does, on the stat sheet. It's what he brings on the ice. He brings that fear factor of, like, don't hit my guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they'll be all right without that. Like, that's not as big of a hit as his name brings, I think.
Right.
So that's really where I stand on it. I think that they definitely got worse before they got better.
And to top this all off, too, they're going to have a questionable. There's 4 players that are questionable here. And a big one here is Kirill Kaprizov. He's questionable to start the season. And then you have Matt Zuccarello, who's questionable. Jordan Greenway, who's questionable. Jared Spurgeon in defense is questionable. So
those are all big.
Those are big, and that's just questionable. So they could start, but if they don't, you're missing key guys, especially Kirill Kaprizov, to really pick up the slack from all the plays they've missed,
And I think if there ends up being a timeline on their return, that can really set them back a bit. If the team gets off to a slow start, that can screw the whole season over early without even realizing that, like, oh, crap, we went – I don't know, call it 3-7 in our first 10 to start the season. Now we're, more than 10% of the way through, and we're not looking so hot,
Oh, yeah, exactly, 100%. And then we just want to talk about goaltending situation, too. The Philip Gustafsson pickup was pretty good. I did like him for the Senators. But let's go to Marc-Andre Fleury here. Not really saying much. Not .908 save percentage, was his 5th worst in his career. And 2.90 GA, which is also 3rd career worst between the Blackhawks and Wild last season. So hopefully Fleury picks it up. He's going to need to with a team like this. I hope, maybe. And Philip Gustafsson is not like Cam Talbot, where he could be like that solid backup, I think. I feel like Philip Gustafsson, but I don't know. I don't know if he's like the same guy as Cam Talbot there. So
the only thing that I think might help them a lot is Joel Eriksson-Ek and Marcus Foligno, Jordan Greenway is your 3rd line. That's a pretty deep roster, when everyone's healthy. And I think on defense, too, Matt Dumba, Jonas Brodin for your starting top, and then Jared Spurgeon when he comes back in the second pair.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're looking good on paper, and, like, looking at their offseason moves, I want to bump them further down my list, but I think I'm happy leaving them in the 3rd seed on my list.
Oh, wow.
Where do you have them?
I have them 4th.
4th, yeah. That's where I am thinking about bumping them down to, but I think I'm going to let them stay where they are, and I just don't know if I were to bump them down who I would bump up, because I don't think this division is – I don't think anyone really got much better here. No. I think a lot of these teams either stayed the same or got a little worse.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm with you on that. But one player I do want to bring up is Brendan Duhaime. When I was doing this breakdown for this team, I came across Brendan Duhaime, and I didn't realize, dude, 10 fights. He led the team in penalty minutes with 122. He had 6 goals and 11 assists in his first NHL season. Dude, imagine this. Okay, first NHL season, 6 goals, 11 assists. Yeah, pretty decent. 10 fucking fights.
Yeah.
That is like showing that, like, hey.
And what I liked about it too, the highlights that we were watching before this, they weren't like, oh, you want to go like at the face-off dot just for no fucking reason. Like, this is the guy that's stepping up when, you know, Matt Zuccarello gets laid out, you know, and he's the guy that really comes over and says that's not all right. And that's going to be big. He's going to have to do even more than that next season with Nicolas Deslauriers gone.
Yep.
Because he's going to have to be that role enforcer. And, you know, hey, maybe that's why Deslauriers's gone. They saw Brandon Duhaime come up in the roster and said, you know what, this guy can do the same job for less money, and we can develop into something more.
Right.
Rather than watch, you know, Deslauriers ride off into the sunset at the end of his career, you know?
It's really like, I don't want to say it, but it kind of is like an old school hockey mentality too, where you have this guy to come in and get stuff done, you know? A lot of teams don't have that anymore. If we're talking about a player like Evander Kane or something like that, or just it'd be like 1 or 2 plays that we talk about that's just on 2 different teams. Not every team has that guy. And Brendan Duhaime is that guy. So I'm going to like it. I can't wait to see more Duhaime fights. He's definitely he's that guy. He's the John Scott guy, getting it done.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I got him down. They really fell down for me when I was kind of doing the breakdown here. So, again, I have the Wild in 4th. You have them in 3rd?
I do have them in 3rd, yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I forgot they were, like, in 2nd in the Central. I was, like, going through and, like, wait, is that a... It's like, oh, yeah, holy God, they were doing really well. Kaprizov really helped out with that, too.
Yeah, I think I might have a good post-to-post picks for us, too, here. He played 80 games last season, this Brandon Duhaime. Do you have him more or less than 10 fights this coming season? Because if he didn't play the whole season, I wasn't going to throw it out there, but what do you think?
Ooh.
If you want to go with that one, or we can do something else. Or you can go by Pims, too. He's at 122.
Oh, I like the Pims.
Pims, yeah.
Over that?
More or less penalties?
I'm going to go more Pims.
More, okay.
Why, were you thinking less?
I think he's going to have to step up and put more up. But I think I'm going to say less and probably bank on an injury or something. Bank on him missing some games. Maybe sent back down to the minors or something.
Okay. Brandon Duhaime. Nice. All right, so I got more Pims for him. I think a team like this is going to need a guy like that, you know?
Yeah, I think so, too.
In my head. So
I'm really only saying less because you picked more, and I think it's lame to pick the same thing. It's more fun to look at it and see us one of us be right and one be wrong.
You could be right, you know? You never know.
Yeah.
But I didn't even think about injury, too, all those fights. How the hell did he play 80 games with 10 fights? Didn't get injured once? Jesus.
Yeah.
He's got head of steel. Good God. That reminds me of the time I shook hands with Sean Thornton. I tell you about that time? It was
Bear
like,
paws.
oh my God, bear paws won. It was like shaking a boulder, by the way. You ever shake hands with a rock? That's exactly what I'm like. Christ, who the hell got hit with these? I don't know how the hell they're still like awake, like alive, just in general. Good God. So, I don't know. More Brendan Duhaime fights. Let's go.